What was the worst punishment that your parents ever gave you? I was 13 when I got caught sneaking out at midnight to meet my friend Jake at the park. The next morning, I came downstairs for breakfast like usual. My mom was making eggs and my dad was reading the paper. I said, "Good morning," waiting for the lecture about sneaking out, but they didn't even look at me. My mom set a plate of eggs on the counter and walked away. My dad folded his paper and left the room. No words, nothing. At first, I thought they were just being dramatic. I laughed and told myself they'd get over it by lunch, but lunch came and went. My mom made me a sandwich and left it on the kitchen table without saying a word. When my dad got home from work, he walked right past me like I was invisible. By day 3, I started feeling crazy. My parents still did everything they normally did. They cooked my meals, washed my clothes, drove me to school, but they wouldn't speak to me or even look directly at me. When I tried to talk to them, they'd nod or shake their heads, then walk away. I kept trying to apologize. I said sorry 100 times. I even wrote a long note explaining how I knew what I did was wrong and promising I'd never sneak out again. I left it on their bedroom door. The next morning, I found it in the trash unopened. Day 4 was when I really started panicking. I sat at the dinner table with my parents eating in complete silence. The only sounds were forks hitting plates and my dad clearing his throat. I tried making small talk about school, about the weather, about anything. They just ate like I wasn't there. That night, I heard them talking and laughing in their bedroom. Normal conversation, normal voices. But the second I walked near their door, everything went quiet. It was like I had some kind of disease that made me invisible to my own family. By day 5, I felt like I was disappearing. I started talking to myself just to hear a human voice respond. I'd stand in front of the bathroom mirror, having full conversations, pretending my reflection was actually listening. I wrote in my notebook like it was my best friend, because at least the pen responded when I pressed it to paper. School was torture, too, because I kept thinking about going home to more silence. My friends asked what was wrong, and I couldn't explain it without sounding pathetic. How do you tell people that your parents aren't talking to you and it's driving you insane? Day 6. I tried everything. I cleaned the entire house without being asked. I made dinner for them. I organized my dad's garage and my mom's craft room. They came home, saw everything I'd done, nodded once, and went to bed. Not a single word of thanks or acknowledgement. I remember lying in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was my life now. Would they ever speak to me again? Would I graduate high school, go to college, get married, and have kids while my parents pretended I didn't exist? The thought made me feel sick. On day 7, I couldn't take it anymore. I sat at the kitchen table and started crying. Not quiet tears, but full-on sobbing. My dad walked in, saw me breaking down, and for a second, I thought he might finally say something. Instead, he got his coffee and walked out. But that evening, everything changed. My dad sat down across from me at the dinner table and finally spoke. "We hope you've learned what it's like to be ignored after breaking our trust," he said calmly. "When you sneak out at night, you're telling us our rules don't matter. So, we decided to show you what it feels like when someone you care about acts like you don't matter." I never snuck out. I was 13 the first time I snuck out of the house. Midnight. I crept down the stairs barefoot, keys tucked in my hoodie, heart pounding so loud I thought it would wake the whole neighborhood. I wasn't running away or doing anything wild, just meeting my friend Jake at the park. Harmless, I thought. We hung out for maybe an hour under the streetlight near the swings. Talked about nothing. Laughed like kids with no clue about consequences. I slipped back in before 2 a.m., so proud of my stealth that I didn't notice the shadow in the upstairs hallway. The next morning, I braced for the storm, yelling, grounding, a phone confiscation. Typical teen stuff. Instead, silence. I walked into the kitchen like it was any other Saturday. My mom was making eggs. My dad sat with the newspaper. I smiled awkwardly. Morning. Nothing. No eye contact. No cold stares. Just absence. My mom plated the eggs and set them on the counter. She walked away without a word. My dad folded his paper and left the room. That was day 1. I figured they were being dramatic. Maybe trying to guilt me. Fine. I could wait it out. By lunch, they still hadn't spoken. My mom made me a sandwich and left it on the table like I was a guest no one wanted to deal with. I tried breaking the silence. "Thanks," I said. "Seriously, I know I messed up." She didn't look at me, just walked past. Day 2. Same thing. They cooked for me. Washed my clothes. drove me to school, but they wouldn't look me in the eye, wouldn't say my name, wouldn't even acknowledge a single word I said. I started getting desperate. I apologized 100 times. I even wrote a letter, front and back, explaining everything. I told them I understood how dangerous it was, that it wouldn't happen again. I slid the note under their bedroom door and waited like I was on trial. The next morning, I found it in the trash, unopened. By day 3, I started unraveling. I sat at dinner across from them, trying to talk about school, or the weather, or literally anything. All I got were forks scraping plates and my dad clearing his throat. It was like I didn't exist. That night, I stood outside their bedroom door. I heard them talking, laughing even, like nothing was wrong. But the second my foot creaked on the floorboard, silence. I became a ghost in my own home. By day 4, I started talking to mirrors just to hear another voice. Full-on conversations with my reflection. I named it. Pretended it was my twin. I wrote in my notebook like it was a diary, but it started feeling like I was talking to a friend, because at least the page answered back when I pressed my pen into it. School became unbearable, not because of the classes, but because I knew what was waiting for me at home. Silence. Cold, clean, calculated silence. Friends noticed. You. Okay, they asked. What was I supposed to say? My parents are pretending I don't exist because I made one mistake. By day 5, I tried everything. I deep cleaned the entire house, vacuumed, dusted, organized every drawer. I even cleaned my dad's entire garage and my mom's craft room. When they came home, they looked around, nodded, and walked away. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering, is this my life now? Will I graduate while they silently clap from the sidelines? Will they come to my wedding and sit in silence? Meet my kids and not speak a word? It felt like I was slipping away, like if they ignored me long enough, I might vanish entirely. On day 6, I broke. I sat at the kitchen table, shoulders shaking, crying uncontrollably. I couldn't stop. Years of being the good kid, the quiet one, the rule follower, gone with one mistake. My dad walked in. I looked up, tears streaming down my face, hoping for something. He grabbed his coffee and walked out. That night, I stopped trying. I sat on the edge of my bed, hands limp in my lap, numb. I didn't clean. I didn't talk. I didn't even cry. Just stared at the wall, wondering if I even mattered anymore. Then came day 7. Dinner was quiet. I barely touched my food. I was too empty to eat. My dad sat across from me. My mom joined, like always. But then something changed. My dad looked at me, actually looked, and said, "We hope you've learned what it's like to be ignored after breaking our trust." He spoke so calmly. No anger. No lectures. "When you sneak out," he continued, "you're telling us our rules don't matter. So, we decided to show you what it feels like when someone you care about acts like you don't matter." I sat there stunned, blinking. 7 days. 7 days of silence. 7 days of mental torture, just to teach me a lesson. And the worst part? It worked. I never snuck out again. But more than that, I never forgot what silence can do. It doesn't leave bruises. It doesn't make a scene. It just slowly carves out pieces of you, until you question if you were ever there at all. Story 2. My sister tried to mock my pathetic job on Thanksgiving. Instead, she exposed my $122.4 million fortune, and my parents demanded millions. For years, my family treated me like a disappointment. On Thanksgiving, they discovered the truth. I own a jewelry empire worth millions, and they lost it. My name is Julia. I'm 38. And for the better part of my life, I've been the other daughter. You know, the kind of kid people describe as so independent, so low maintenance. She always figures things out on her own. Yeah, that was me. Not because I was born self-sufficient, but because no one ever really gave me a choice. My little sister Anna was born when I was 8, premature, fragile. Doctors weren't sure she'd survive the first week. I remember standing in the hospital hallway, staring through the NICU window at this tiny thing in a glass box while my mom clutched the nurse's arm and sobbed. From that moment on, Anna became the center of everything. And I became, well, wallpaper. It started with small things. If I got sick, mild cold, cough, anything, I was sent to grandma's just in case. Every time sneezed, bags packed. By the time I was 10, I had a weekend bag permanently in the closet. My parents called it protecting Anna. I called it exile. When I was 12, I taught myself to play bridge over troubled water on piano for the school talent show. Practiced every night for months. The night of the show, Anna had a low-grade fever. Not even 100 degrees. No one came. 2 weeks later, the whole family showed up to her flute recital where she played badly. I might add hot cross buns for 4 minutes and forget the ending. They clapped like she was Mozart reincarnated. That was the pattern. Every achievement of mine got brushed aside. Every mediocrity of hers treated like a miracle. Still, I kept trying. Got perfect grades. I started working at 16. Taught myself how to apply for college. I got into Yale with a full scholarship. My parents. That's nice, honey. Anna's cheerleading tryouts are next week. I ate microwave mac and cheese in my room while they took Anna to Olive Garden to celebrate her making JV cheer. Let that sink in. It hurt. Of course it hurt. But the pain slowly calcified into fuel. If no one was going to root for me, I'd root for myself. I pushed harder. I learned faster. I worked smarter. I taught myself everything from financial aid to FAFSA forms to how to hustle side gigs while in school. And after graduation, I didn't get a "we're proud of you." I got a text that said, "Can you come home this weekend? Anna's dorm furniture doesn't fit, and we need help." I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just kept going. Eventually, I landed a job at an auction house specializing in estate sales. Most people found it boring. Dusty furniture, old jewelry, dead people stuff. I saw something else. You see, when I was a kid banished to Grandma Carol's house for sneezing, she'd let me play with her vintage costume jewelry. I'd organize it, clean it, even catalog it in an old notebook. I thought it was just a childhood distraction. Turns out it was foreshadowing because one day while sorting what everyone assumed was cheap costume jewelry from some estate, I spotted something. A brooch, Art Deco. Subtle, but it felt different. The weight, the clasp, the patina. Long story short, I did the research. Like deep dive research. Spent my own money on a gemology course. I presented it to my boss. He brushed me off until I showed him documentation. That brooch sold for $47,000. And just like that, people started listening to me. Within 2 years, I opened my own authentication business. Small at first. The office above a Chinese restaurant smelled like Kung Pao 24/7. I slept 4 hours a night, skipped meals, but word spread. Turns out in the luxury world, discretion is currency. People trusted me. I worked my ass off and the clients kept coming. Now we have offices in 3 cities. I employ 14 people. I've been featured in Forbes under the business name my family would die if they found out. And yes, I'm worth just over $12 million. But here's the thing. My family still thinks I work at a dusty antique shop. I never corrected them. At first, it was easier to just smile and nod while Anna mocked me for not having a real job. Then it became fun, like I was living a secret double life. By day, I was consulting on 6F-figure auctions in Hong Kong. By night, aka Sunday. Dinner, I was Julia, who smells like mothballs and sells junk. I even started sending my parents $7,000 a month anonymously when I found out they were struggling with Anna's grad school loans. They assumed I was skipping meals and scraping pennies. To help. Anna claimed she inspired the family to help each other. I said nothing. But Thanksgiving, that was the day the truth exploded. And no, it wasn't my choice. It started with a laptop, a smirk, and a very big mistake. Thanksgiving has always been a weird holiday in our family. Picture forced politeness, emotional landmines, disguised as cranberry sauce, and Anna acting like she invented gratitude. 2 weeks before the big day, Mom called me crying naturally about how her back pain was acting up. She had a herniated disc, or so she said, and just couldn't manage cooking for 20 people this year. Now, I'd love to say I offered to help because I'm generous. But the truth, I was just so done choking down her dry turkey and lumpy mashed potatoes. Year after year while she blamed the oven, the altitude, or Mercury in retrograde. So, I offered to take care of everything. Mom, let me handle the food. I'll have it catered. Oh, honey, we can't afford a caterer. Don't worry about the cost. I've been saving up. Technically, not a lie. I do have a savings account. It just happens to be padded by multiple seven-figure contracts. I booked a high-end catering firm I've used for business events. They don't just cook, they curate experiences. Think maple glazed Brussels sprouts, pumpkin ravioli, artisanal herb stuffing, the whole 9 yards. It cost more than my parents assumed I would make in 2 months, but whatever. I was feeling generous and a little wicked. Thanksgiving morning arrived. I showed up early wearing my favorite trying not to look rich sweater, a $3,000 cashmere piece. That looks like it came from a thrift store if you squint. I also brought my laptop because I was monitoring a high-stakes online auction in Hong Kong for a client. One of the most significant Art Nouveau necklaces in private circulation was going up for sale, and if my client won the bid, I needed to start authentication immediately. The food arrived on schedule. The presentation flawless. People were literally moaning over the cranberry orange compost. Anna, of course, had to say something. Store-bought stuffing. Really, Julia? Mom's is so much better. This from the girl who once burned ramen in a microwave. Whatever. I just smiled, poured myself a glass of wine that cost more than her entire outfit, and watched as everyone devoured. Food they swore wasn't as good as Mom's, while licking the plates clean. After dessert, I stepped away to check the auction. I set up my laptop in my childhood bedroom, frozen in time with my old posters and books. The same room never bothered to update. Meanwhile, Anna's room has had 3 renovations since she moved out. Of course. Now, here's where the grenade gets tossed. I was logged into several platforms, auction dashboards, authentication systems, payment portals. I also had a few tabs open. One with my business's quarterly profit report for zero point 0.2 million, another with my current account balance, 12.4 million, and a third with a pending contract worth $485,000. Anna barged in, no knock, naturally, under the guise of borrowing my charger. She glanced at my screen and froze. What is this? Private work. Close the laptop, Anna. Are you serious right now? Is this real? Her tone had shifted. It wasn't smug anymore. I was confused, threatened. Then came the smirk. Let's show everyone what kind of important work Julie is doing on Thanksgiving. And before I could react, she grabbed my laptop and marched into the dining room. I should have stopped her, tackled her even, but some twisted part of me thought, fine, let them see. The room was full. Aunts, uncles, cousins, plates licked clean, wine flowing, holiday cheer in full swing. Anna set my laptop on the table and turned the screen toward everyone like it was a grand unveiling. Time to see what Julia's really been up to in her little antique shop. She clicked the touchpad and said nothing. Silence. Absolute dead silence. You could hear the tick of the overpriced wall clock I bought Mom last year, which she thought was from HomeGoods. One by one, eyes landed on the numbers. Current account balance $12.4 million. Pending contract $485,000. Quarterly revenue $4.2 million. Anna's face went pale, then red, then a weird shade of green. This can't be right, she whispered. What's wrong, sweetie? Mom called from the other end of the table. Anna, now visibly sweating, turned and said the words that detonated everything. She's rich. Julia's rich. You know those moments in movies where everything slows down? That happened like time had sucked all the air out of the room. Mom laughed. Actually, I laughed. Don't be ridiculous. Julia works at that little antique shop. I stood up slowly, straightened my sweater, took a breath. Actually, Mom, I own one of the largest jewelry authentication companies in the country. Pause. Those antique shop jokes. I've been authenticating pieces worth millions. That little business you never asked about. We have offices in 3 cities. Forks hit plates. Wine glasses tilted. My dad choked on his scotch. Aunt Kelly dropped her fork. Uncle Pete coughed for a solid minute. And then just when I thought maybe someone might say, wow, or we're proud of you, my mother's face turned purple. She stood up so fast her chair fell over. You have millions and you let us struggle. I blinked. Struggle? I send you $7,000 every month. While sitting on millions, your sister has student loans, Julia. There it was. Not congratulations, not amazement, just entitlement. Anna started crying. Of course, you lied to us. You betrayed the family. Dad joined in. We raised you. How could you be so selfish? And that was when I broke the dam burst. Raise me. You shipped me off to grandma's every time I sneezed. You missed every achievement I ever had, every award, every milestone ignored. You never saved a cent for my education, but took out loans for hers. And now you're mad that I built something for myself. The next 5 minutes were chaotic, screaming accusations. Anna sobbing into her $200 Michael Kors clutch. Meanwhile, the caterers quietly served pecan pie and looked like they were rethinking their career paths. I picked up my laptop, grabbed my Hermes bag. Yes, the one Mom once complimented as a great knockoff, and walked out. Behind me, I heard Mom yelling about Anna's MBA, something about using my money for a new car. I drove home in silence in my sensible car, a limited edition BMW. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just smiled because finally, the truth was out. I wish I could tell you that after walking out of that Thanksgiving train wreck, I finally had peace, that I sipped wine in my perfectly silent home and celebrated my freedom like a woman in a skincare commercial. But no, instead, I opened my phone to 47 missed calls. By midnight, the number had crossed 200 messages. They came in waves. First, how dare you walk out on a family like that? Then, we need to talk about this like adults. Then came the gold medal text from Mom. Your sister deserves a share of your success, and the pièce de resistance sent at 11:45 p.m. I've already called a realtor about houses in better neighborhoods. Like my bank account was a community chest card from Monopoly. Meanwhile, Anna was doing what she does best, playing the victim for a crowd. She wrote an entire Facebook post longer than my college thesis about hidden wealth, betrayal, and how she tried to help me move up from my little antique job. The comments were full of, OMG, you're so strong, and that's so unfair, RA. One person even said, some people get selfish when they get rich. Some people, try me, you passive-aggressive cowards. The kicker, Anna said in her post, all those years I gave Julia career advice, and she was secretly rich the whole time. Let me clarify. The only career advice she ever gave me was suggesting I sell bracelets on Etsy. Once at brunch after I paid the bill, but the real fun began on Monday. I walked into my downtown office, sleek, minimal sunlight flooding in, and found my receptionist, Megan, frozen at her desk. She mouthed, they're here. I blinked. Who's here? Your parents and Anna. I turned the corner, and there they were in my glass-walled reception lounge, sitting like they had an appointment. Anna had her Michael Kors bag in her lap, like it was her emotional support animal. Mom wore pearls. Dad wore rage. Julia, honey, we've had a family meeting. Mom began. A family meeting without the actual family member you're now confronting? I replied. They ignored me naturally. We've decided, Dad said, that it's only fair you set up trust funds for everyone. Excuse me. Your sister needs at least $2 million to start her new life properly, Mom chimed in. And we're thinking about retiring. Dad added. Somewhere warm. A beach house in Florida would be ideal. I stared. You're joking. Julia, come on. Anna wed. You have millions. That tiny amount won't even dent your savings, right? Because I owe them retirement money and my sister a luxury lifestyle makeover. For what exactly? I've already been sending you $7,000 a month, I said slowly. And it's not nearly enough. Mom snapped. You owe us. Oh, there it was. You owe us now. We're proud of you. Not thank you for helping us. Just you owe us. I owe you. I said, voice shaking. For what? The missed birthdays? The ignored graduation? The emotional exile every time Anna had the sniffles? Don't be dramatic, Mom said, waving a hand. We gave you everything. Number I gave myself everything, I said. And you know what? I'm done. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and canceled the monthly transfers right there in front of them. Mom gasped like I'd slapped her. Anna started crying again. You're cutting us off after everything? Exactly. After everything. They refused to leave. So, I did what I never thought I'd do. I called building security. Watching my own mother being escorted out of my office while shouting about ungrateful children felt like a scene out of a very dark sitcom. Megan turned to me afterward, eyes wide. Do you want to press charges? No, I said, but I do want their names on our do not admit list. For the next 3 weeks, the harassment escalated. Unknown numbers calling at all hours. Blocked emails. Flooding my website's contact form. Anna made an anonymous TikTok claiming her sister hoarded wealth and let her family suffer. Spoiler alert, it went viral. Even my third cousin's wife's yoga instructor messaged me on LinkedIn to say, family is everything. You should be ashamed. But then Mom made her final move. She called Grandma Carol. Now Grandma is 87 and terrifyingly sharp. She's the only family member who ever showed me love without conditions. She was the one who let me organize her costume jewelry as a child, the skill that launched my entire business. And what did Grandma say when Mom told her the whole sob story? Good for Julia. About time someone in this family succeeded on her own terms. Legend. Absolute legend. Mom didn't speak to Grandma for 2 months after that. As for me, I moved, upgraded to a house with better security, changed my numbers, put a legal team on retainer just in case. And my business booming. Turns out wealthy clients like someone who understands discretion. My story somehow attracted more elite clients who appreciated my privacy. Anna, she started a jewelry authentication company on Instagram 2 weeks after Thanksgiving. Her latest post features a suspiciously fake Cartier bracelet with the caption, "Some of us build success with grit and grace, others with secrets." I could have corrected her. Instead, I clicked block. It's been 6 months since Thanksgiving. 6 months since the laptop, since the silence, since the screaming, since I finally said no. And you know what? I've never felt freer. There's a strange peace in realizing that you were never really loved for you, that your worth in someone's eyes was conditional, transactional, based entirely on what you could provide or withhold. I used to fantasize about what it would feel like to finally be recognized, not for money, not for utility, but for who I am, my mind, my work, my story. Turns out the only people who ever did that were strangers. Clients who trusted my expertise, colleagues who respected my instincts, employees who saw me as a mentor, and now Reddit readers who, weirdly enough, probably know me better than my own family ever bothered to. I've cut off all contact. After the office scene, I had my lawyer send a formal notice. Any further harassment would result in legal action. Mom finally stopped calling after that. Her last voicemail: "We don't want your money anyway. We're just praying for your soul." Anna, meanwhile, has fully leaned into her victim arc. She still posts those passive-aggressive Instagram captions like, "Some people measure success in dollars, others in loyalty." Or, my personal favorite, "Imagine being so insecure you hide your wealth from your family." The irony is delicious. She even tried to build her own jewelry authentication business. Fake luxury pieces, eye-written appraisals, Canva logos. She copied my website's layout and stole paragraphs from our educational blog. Down to the punctuation for a while, it got her attention. Old classmates promoted her. A few confused clients rolled in. I stayed quiet. Let her play. Then a private collector contacted me, concerned. Anna had appraised a supposedly rare 19th century brooch. It turned out to be a mass-produced replica from the 1980s. Embarrassing for them, career-ending for her. So, I did what any responsible professional would do. I forwarded the documentation quietly, anonymously to the state board that certifies luxury appraisal services. A month later, her business account was suspended for fraud. She posted a vague message about jealous haters trying to bring down strong women. Her empire crumbled in less than 6 weeks. I never said a word because revenge doesn't need an audience. Sometimes the most devastating payback is watching the ones who mocked you choke on the fantasy they built out of your shadow. As for me, I moved into a new home. Not a mansion, but thoughtful, safe, warm. I installed state-of-the-art security. Not because I'm paranoid, but because I finally believe I'm worth protecting. I still run my business. We're expanding to London this year. We closed a deal last month worth more than my parents' house, cars, and retirement combined. And yet, you'd still find me at 2 a.m. hunched over a loop, inspecting the engravings on a 1920s brooch, grinning like a child. I didn't build this life out of spite. I didn't do it to rub it in their faces or prove anything to anyone. I did it for the 8-year-old version of me. The little girl was packing a bag every time she sneezed. The one who memorized antique jewelry guides because it was the only time someone, Grandma Carol, seemed impressed. The one who taught herself to clap when no one else would. That girl deserved a future where she wasn't a second choice. So I built it. And now I get to decide who gets access to it. Spoiler, it's not them. You'd be amazed how peaceful Sunday evenings are without the awkward family dinners, without Vanessa interrupting every sentence, without Diane and Richard joking about how I should find a real job. Instead, I spend my Sundays cooking something I actually enjoy. Sometimes I catalog pieces from private collections. Sometimes I drink wine and rewatch Pride and Prejudice for the 90th time. Last week, I taught Megan, my first employee, now my head authenticator, how to spot a mid-century fake from a real French platinum setting. She cried when I handed her the key to our new office. "No one's ever believed in me this much before," she said. And it hit me. I never had a me when I was her age. So now I get to be that for someone else. And that's worth more than every dollar in my account. I still see Grandma Carol. She visited last month and helped me catalog a private Estates' 300-piece collection. We laughed over tea and shortbread just like we used to when I was 10. Before she left, she hugged me and said, "You broke the cycle, sweetheart. You did it." That was the first time I cried in months. Because she was right. I didn't just escape the cycle. I shattered it. No more proving myself. No more over-explaining. No more shrinking to make others comfortable. I own my story now. And if you're wondering, do I regret any of it? Not even a little. Not the silence. Not the secrets. Not even the Thanksgiving explosion. Because that moment when Vanessa flipped my laptop around expecting to humiliate me and instead exposed the truth, it wasn't a downfall. It was my liberation. Edit. Yes, Grandma Carol is doing great. She just mailed me a vintage locket from an estate sale in Maine with a note. For the girl who sees treasure where others see dust. Yeah, I cried again. Thanks for asking. And Vanessa, if you're reading this, and let's be honest, you are that Cartier bracelet in your latest post. Definitely fake, just like your tears.